Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It's August the 2nd, and we're looking at two Psalms, Psalm 81 and Psalm 82 today. The first one I've called A Song for a Feast. Let's read it together and we'll see what the Lord is saying through the prophet Asaph. Sing aloud unto God our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the God of Jacob. Take a psalm, and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp, with the psaltery. Blow upon the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, on our solemn feast day. So this is a call upon Israel to meet the Lord on these special feast days, and to come with all the musical instruments, and to come with a psalm in their heart and on their lips. Verse 4, for this was a statute for Israel, and a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony when he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. So Asaph is saying that when the children of Israel were in Egypt, they heard a tongue, a language that they didn't understand. And God ordained that there in the land they would sing a psalm, and they would sing with music, and they would praise the name of the Lord. It was an everlasting statute for Israel. It was a law for the God of Jacob. I removed his shoulder from the burden. His hands were delivered from the pots. Thou callest in trouble, and I delivered thee. I answered thee in the secret place of thunder. I proved thee at the waters of Meribah, Selah. And then we have verse 8. 8 is my password for today. 8, 9 and 10 is an amazing set of phrases. Let me read it to you. Hear, O my people, and I will testify unto thee, O Israel, if thou wilt hearken unto me. There shall no strange God be in thee, neither shalt thou worship any strange God. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open thy mouth wide, and I will fill it. Fill it with what? He will fill it with praise to his great and holy name. Now, often I hear people say, oh no, all of the Bible is to all of us all of the time. Well, we need discernment in when we're reading the scripture. And from verse 8, 9 and 10, it's absolutely unmistakable that Asaph is quoting what God says to Israel. He's not speaking to Christians, and he's certainly not speaking to Gentiles. He says, hear, O my people, and I will testify unto thee, O Israel. If thou wilt hearken unto me, there shall no strange God be in thee. You see, God was calling Israel to a state in which they had forsaken all of the false gods of this world. He was calling them to a state of religion in which they worship the one and only true God. There shall no strange God be in thee, neither shalt thou worship any strange God. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open thy mouth wide, and I will fill it. So there was this wonderful, intimate relationship. Now, none of them are saved, as Christians are saved. But they were in covenant, and they were in this wonderful covenant, the old covenant, in which they were separated from Egypt, and they were separated from the nations, and they were called to singleness of worship. They were to worship the one and only true God. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Now that phrase, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, it cannot be said of any Gentile. And it certainly can't be said of any Christian. Christians are not brought out of Egypt, and the Gentiles were never brought out of Egypt. This was a company of people. It was an extended family. It was a confederacy of tribes that were called by the Lord to come out of Egypt, and they were called to be the worshippers of Jehovah. Notice in verse 10, I am the Lord. And in the Authorized Version, when it's Lord in capitals, that's signifying that the word there is Jehovah. The word Jehovah is unique for Israel. It is a word which describes in a very special way the relationship that Israel has with Jehovah their God. So we have this amazing status that Israel are brought into. This amazing statement. They're brought into a covenant relationship. It's a covenant of law. It's a covenant of holiness and righteousness. However, verse 11. But my people. Notice the word my people. The word there is the word ethnic group. It is my ethnic group, Israel, would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of me. So I gave them up to their heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsels. Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Israel had walked in my ways. I should soon have subdued their enemies, and turned my hand against their adversaries. The haters of the Lord should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied thee. Now Israel never knew this. They never had honey out of the rock. But that's what he would have done if only they had been faithful to him. And so what a tragedy. What a tragedy that this amazing God, Jehovah God, should bring a whole ethnic group out of the land of Egypt, separate them from bondage, and bring them into liberty. And he should demand of them that they worship him and him only. And they turned away from him. They turned away, they walked in sin, and they walked in their own counsels. They walked according to their own ideas. And he said, if only they'd have followed me, he said, I would have destroyed all of their enemies. All those that hate the Lord would have submitted themselves unto him, and I would have given them honey out of the rock. What a terrible thing that Israel did. Now let's look at Psalm 82. It's just a little psalm, just 8 verses. But, amazing. I've called it The Lord is in Control, a psalm of Asaph. God standeth in the congregation of the mighty, he judgeth among the gods. Now we need to stop a minute. What does that mean? Well, the word gods there is used of men. And he's using the word gods to describe those people, they're human beings of course in Israel, those human beings who on behalf of God are the judges of the nation. Okay? God standeth in the congregation of the mighty, he judgeth among the gods. You see, what we need to understand is this, is that the way in which God setteth up his judgment in the world is a very simple thing. It is God himself who appoints over men, whoever he wishes. And he puts them in positions of authority for judicial power and for political power. He is the person who appoints them. They are answerable to him, and when the people of God, in this case it's Israel, when the people of God are obedient to their judges, they are being obedient to God. Now this is also New Testament teaching. This is exactly what Paul says to the church. He says that the Most High ruleth in the kingdoms of men, and that the powers that be are ordained of God. And when we are obedient to the ministers of the government, we are being obedient unto the ministers of God. They are God's ministers. And not only are they God's ministers, but they are acting in God's place. And that's why they are referred to as gods with a little g. And this is why we need to give the utmost respect to those that have power over us in the world, because God has put them in their place. God will hold them to account for what they do, what they say. And that's not for us to judge, it's for him to judge. And he will hold them to account. And then the Lord says something in verse 2. He's speaking to those that judge. He says, how long will you judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Selah. Now that is a tremendous statement. It's a tremendous indictment upon judges, because they're judging on behalf of God, and yet they are wicked when they judge. They judge unjustly, and also they accept the persons of the wicked. So they're using prejudice, they are receiving bribery, and all these things are an absolute abomination in the sight of the Lord. And in verse 3 and 4 and so on, he goes on to explain what they ought to do. He says, you should defend the poor and the fatherless, and do justice to the afflicted and the needy. Deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the land, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. In other words, what he's saying is that when these wicked judges do that which is wrong, then even everything in the world goes out of place. Everything is out of place. Everything is not in its proper course. Verse 6, I have said, you are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. You see, these persons that are the gods over us, and he's talking to Israel, but it applies to all men, these persons that God has raised up to be gods over us, they are all the children of the Most High. So they're men. But you shall die like men, and fall like every one of the princes. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. So even though the people that God has raised up are false judges, and they do what's wicked instead of what's right, God will eventually rise up and he will judge them. And the righteous, those that do right, the poor and the needy, and those that are oppressed, they will inherit all the nations. Now that is an amazing thing. In fact, this is really the subject of the Sermon on the Mount. It's the central crux theme of God amongst all those covenant people. He says this. He said, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall see God. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So the meek will inherit all the earth when God has swept away all the wicked and all the wicked judges and banished them to a lost eternity. Then those that are poor and needy will rise up and take possession of all the earth. So the Lord is in control. The Lord is in control. Well, God bless you. It's great to speak to you. Amazing Psalms again today. Look forward to catching up with you all tomorrow. God bless you. Bye for now.